little bit of humility never hurt anyone. I help others better themselves by wholeheartedly humiliating them at every step.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Starfyre Gaming. I'm Sir Joseph and this is Warhammer 40k Rouge Trader. We are on the Ivory World of Janus. We were just attacked outside of the governor's palace, and we're going to go talk to her now.
I won't tolerate weakness.
And then we'll do some exploring after that. These look like grandiose stairs. Here we go. There we go, to the mansion. Oh, we got a doodad here.
A job for me.
Governor's Palace is opulent. The glint finishes and plaster are updated regularly and frequently. It seems too frequently even for the building situated on the coast. Let's go talk to the governor about being shot at. Well, as we look at the map, yeah, there's no doors. Well, maybe, you don't know. Could be something.
It's about time.
I am registering unconventionally high efficiency for the unit Cassio Celio, relative to her limited experience. The unit status is being upgraded.
Knowledge is the key to everything, is it not, esteemed Magos? I learned this wisdom from your fellow priests, and it has helped me many times.
Upon seeing you, the guard at the door lets out a frightened yelp and doubles over in a low bow. Your lordship, the most honorable Ignatius von Valencius, the governor is awaiting you in her office, where she is protected by walls and guards. Would you prefer to meet her alone or with her entourage? My entourage will accompany me in my meeting with the governor. She appears to be glowing. Vistenza Janus Viat ab Aram of Coronas is furiously swiping at a data slate, issuing commands into a gilded vox. Upon seeing you, she hurriedly puts away her device, smooths her skirt, and drops into a deep curtsy. Your lordship, accept my abject apologies for the reprehensible stunt that spoiled the reception. Even in my worst nightmares, I could never have imagined. You can stop apologizing, Vistenza. I am not offended. This has happened before. Thank you, your lordship. Believe me, I am infinitely sorry that the troubles of Janus have reached us even here, the most protected place on Janus. The companion standing next to Vicenza respectfully bows her head. She is doggedly trying not to turn her head towards you, but it is obvious she is watching you through lowered lashes. One of your wardens helped us in battle. A superb shot. Who was it? You must be referring to Yerliot. our chief ally in the struggle against the rebels. I have turned a blind eye to her horrific mutations, given the undoubted advantage she brings. You see, Yurliet comes from a local degenerate stock of this world and knows Janus like the back of her hand. So she has provided several leads as to where we can find bases and secret storehouses. Although I admit that at times I'm tempted to send her away from the estate. Her unnaturalness means that speaking with her always leaves me feeling uneasy. Such a gaunt, unfeminine figure, and so tall. Jai leans forward curiously. Gauntness of frame and tall statures are features common among Voidborn, my dear governor. That does not make them mutants. Then pray, whatever do you find so disagreeable about this Yurliet's appearance? Vistenza cringes from the memories. The strange movements, the strange looks, the abnormally large eyes, an unnaturally distorted face, the pointed ears. Jai raises an eyebrow meaningfully. Do I have news for you, Shireen? But it is for your ears only. I will tell you when we meet our mysterious new ally. If you wish to speak to Yurlit, you will find her outside in the orangery, most likely by the gazebo. She prefers to keep her distance from others. What's happening on the planet? Several months ago, uprisings broke out on Janus. I was not even notified at first. Gripping worms are for wardens to worry about. Alas, I only learned of what was happening after the miscreants began targeting noble families. Vistenza shakes her head. And then it became apparent that what the administratum's accountants had referred to as unrest were in fact organized attacks on infrastructure and society leaders. They have already brought 13 Agra complexes to a halt, and have now moved on to assassination attempts. My wardens were doggedly tracking down the rebels, but their leaders are slipping from our grasp yet again. Can Janus fulfill its foodstuff supplies under current conditions? I risk angering you, your lordship, but this is nothing compared to shamelessly deceiving you. Let us consider the situation dispassionately. Even the most talented logistics experts of the administratum are unable to guarantee stable tithes when shuttles are wary of landing at the spaceport, and the terrified peasants are indulging a dangerous minority within their ranks. Until the usual order of things is restored on Janus, any trade is nigh impossible. Considering what has occurred, your visit is a true blessing. You see, Janus does not have a fleet of its own. We could organize a planet-wide search. If we had ships at our disposal, ships like yours, your lordship, perhaps you will find a way to support your subjects in their hour of need. I'm sure even approximate coordinates would be sufficient to have the ground forces and ship's crews work together to hunt down the enemy. I will get to the bottom of this. I'm sure the rebels have something to say to the master of their world. Vistenza inclines her head. I am immeasurably grateful for your assistance, your lordship. If any of those who attacked the estate had survived, then perhaps they could have been a valuable source of information. But you made an example of them for the rest of the foolish rabble. Vistenza glances at her Vox. Incidentally, I did overhear the wardens talking about some kind of stranger in the area. Besides that, we still don't know who let those reprobates into the estate. The person who did it might know something. I, as well as my retinue, are at your service. My secretary is checking the staff as we speak and removing all traces of the attack from the estate. The esteemed Magos, who is responsible for agronomic efforts on this planet, is also here. He happened to be visiting this week to deliver his personal report. And, of course, there is my aide in the war against the rebels, Yearlit. I have no doubt she will be delighted to share her knowledge of Janus with your lordship. Footfall Station is on the verge of starvation. Can Janus supply people there with provisions? Yes and no, your lordship. If the question is, can such an expansive and fertile world as this one feed a few thousand void rats? Of course it can. We lose more provisions to gnawing pests every cycle than those on Footfall could eat in their entire lives. But can we ship said provisions to Footfall? Not a chance. Any cargo shuttles that leaves the surface will be targeted for attack. The rebels will not hesitate to bring it down, sending flaming debris over our capital. Our silos could become targets for sabotage. Food could be poisoned or mined. The logistics of transporting supplies to Footfall will only be possible once the uprising has been completely crushed. It really is embarrassing to admit that even Vladium may Azi take this man is better doing his job as liege of Footfall than Lady Viat is at keeping her world in check. Tell me about Janus. Vistenza leans forward. Janus is a remarkable world, both in terms of its vast potential and in terms of the work that was carried out to transform it into an agri world. House Viet has ruled on Janus for many generations, and each new governor has, without fail, contributed to the planet's taming. This world was once a wild planet, full of xenobeasts and utterly unsuitable for growing anything. To this day, despite our efforts, Janus regularly rebels against us. Earthquakes, tsunamis, the emergence of new pests and weeds that invade the arable land. Sometimes I cannot help but think that this world is endowed with consciousness, a consciousness of a capricious and stubborn child who likes to spoil everything that we have achieved. What do you grow on Janus? Mainly Helican flint corn and red turnip. Apart from that, in the southern hemisphere, we have set aside vast tracts of land for the Grox population. And of course, I cannot fail to mention the several thousand acres of tilled land given over to cultivating fermentable fruit for personal use and limited export. Who is this person standing next to you? One of my ladies in waiting, Amelia. Amelia performs secretarial duties and helps me remain in constant contact with those families who are most responsible for the productivity and prosperity of Janus. I trust my advisors implicitly, and over time, Amelia has become not merely a faithful companion, but almost my shadow. Losing her would be like losing my right hand. Vestinza laughs and gives Amelia an encouraging nod. Amelia drops into a low curtsy. To bathe in the light of your greatness is true honor, Rouge Trader. I must take my leave. Alright. Let's go find people we're supposed to talk to.
Victory awaits!
And we'll explore the outside here.
In truth, Mistress Haydari, I find it hard to believe that a ne'er-do-well such as yourself could be successful in any field, even smuggling.
In truth, Master Viserion, I find it hard to believe that anyone would put out for such a bore as yourself. But you've somehow managed to sire a whole gaggle of offspring.
Loot! His Lordship Ignatius von Valentius, Rouge Trader, by the grace of God. What the heck is this thing? And why is it following me around?
Follow my lead.
Oh, it's still there. The heck? Is it a piece of inventory or something? I guess that hot shot las gun. Oh well. There it is. Go away. Grab some more medkits. Oh. Alright. That's that.
I'll lay claim to the stars.
Go to the other side of the... Loot. Vinzelex. Draped in a red cloak, the Magus's body barely looks human. Wires, tubes, and metal manipulators turned him into a whimsical machine, while implants hide his face behind a sinister mask. The tech priest intermittently dictates something in Technolinga to the servo skull floating next to him. But at your approach, he falls silent and offers a reserved bow. Greetings, your lordship. Lex Mechanica Vinzelex. How may I serve you? Pascal and Lex Mechanic exchange trills of Binheric greetings. The series of sounds issued by Vinzelex sounds much longer and more deferential than those of Pascal. Water is good. What do you do here on Janus? The tech priest's mechanical voice comes from the speaker on his neck. By the order of the Adeptus Mechanicus, I have been entrusted with the management of the Adeptus Administratum in order to catalog ergonomic data and analyze information about the planet during the process of subjugating it to the will of the Imperium. Be blessed, Tech Brother. Your diligence and the diligence of those like you turn anarchy into order and bestows classifications to knowledge. One of Pascal's mechadendrites slightly touches the Lex Mechanic's body. The tech priest bows respectfully in return, clearly a little startled. Tell me about Janus. Initializing report. The planet's soil processes a unique combination suitable for the re-engineering of the planet and the mass production of foodstuffs. Significant cultivation of the Eastern Hemisphere with the aim of improving production processes and logistic operations. Traces of xenoactivity that do not pose an immediate threat to ongoing operations. Undesirable pathologies of flora and fauna have been noted, which may pose a threat in the short term. What pathologies in the flora and fauna? Genetic and chemical pathologies, your lordship. Harmless species mutate and become aggressive, while plants change their chemical composition and become poisonous. This is happening more and more often, and if no action is taken, the ecosystem of the world will be irreparably disrupted. The changes may be artificial. Has the possibility been considered that someone is manipulating the ecosystem to reduce our living space? Not at all, Venerable Magos. Our tech comrades from the Magos biologists are humble workers, not warriors. They could not have come up with a thought of such a militant nature. The mind must be open to all forms of knowledge. I order you to commence a check. In the event that your account of the indolence of their minds is confirmed, I will petition an appropriate penance. How is the governor dealing with undesirable pathologies? I have analyzed the genome of the affected species, and I am currently developing suppressor genes to make the planet's organisms resistant to pathology. But so far, I have not been able to solve the problem. Further exploration of the planet would perhaps speed up these processes, but the administrative apparatus has imposed a ban on expeditions that are not directly aimed at improving production. Traces of xenoactivity? According to data obtained during the initial survey, ruined structures of non-human origin were noted in different sectors of the planet, but I do not have the administrative capacity to study them in more detail. For now, I must defer the quest for knowledge. The Lex Mechanic speaks the last words with a distinct envy, his eyes fixed on Magus Hahnemann. Let's talk about something else. How many servants of the Adeptus Mechanicus are there on the planet? According to the data stored in my cogitator, all infrastructure nodes and food harvesting and processing have their own contingent of technomats. The total number amount to 253. Correction, based on the latest update, the figure is 211 units. How are things with you and your fellows? The current situation on the planet is assessed as stable. The progress of the prospects is assessed as encouraging. We will speak later. All right. Pascal, crack that safe.
My success is an irrefutable certainty.
None shall stand in my way.
All right, nothing down here. Oh. Excuse me. You're lit and a security officer. We'll make our way to them. There's Urlit. Yeah, she is so an Eldar. Another worldly silence reigns under the arches of the gazebo. Perhaps a sound barrier generator is mounted in the dome.
Iliad Lenevis greets you, Elantark.
The bizarre creature before you only vaguely resembles a typical human. An elongated body, slender limbs, pointed features. Every aspect of its appearance is unnatural and alien. The creature turns its head to you.
Would you look at this? Xenos. Oh, she devoured them, mingling with humans. Don't your lot think themselves above that? Anyway, it doesn't change the fact that it's a Xenos that's been cozying up to Viet, not a mutant.
Jai tilts her head to the side.
There is fear in your words. You know what I am, and so I may no longer follow the shadowed path and must be direct. My soul is nothing kin to yours. Your kind call us Xenos, as if we are all as one. I came here to protect the Lilithon by assisting the Governor against her enemies. Will you hear me, or be blinded to sense by your precepts?
To be honest, the only part I understood was that you have no desire to fight. That is one thing we have in common.
I have banished the shadow of doubt from your thoughts regarding my nature. Now you will answer my question. Why have you sought me out?
Yearly inclines her head by an infinitesimal amount. So you're the Governor's mysterious helper.
I am Elantark. My hand parried the death promised to the ruler of these people, and I aided you in battle against the Lost Ones.
Why do you call me Elenak, or Elantark?
Because that is what you are. Elantark means stranger from the darkness amidst the stars. You descended on flame-winged machines in a dark time when the air of the planet is soaked in blood and pain. Will you be the one to bring peace to the Lilithon?
Why are you helping the Governor?
This world is in distress. I wish to protect it from unnecessary suffering.
What do you know about the rank-and-file rebels?
Only that they threaten the established order. There is much risk to this world should the ruler die.
Urilette's face is unreadable, but you detect a strange tension in her voice, as though she is choosing her words carefully. Do you know who was behind the uprisings on the planet?
There is a malevolence here that drives your kin down the path of violence.
Your answers are not particularly helpful.
But you are not asking for help, Elantark. You are merely asking questions, the answers to which are either unimportant or wreathed in shadow. Explore this place. Speak to those who know. A simple task for you, and an insurmountable challenge for me, since my very appearance provokes fear and suspicion. When you learn anything, tell me. Perhaps then my answers will be helpful to your search.
Urilet hesitates and then adds more quietly. How did you come to Janus?
The world you call Janus was once created by the will of my kin. I have far more right to be on the Lilithon than any of you.
I spoke to the Magus in charge of operations on the planet. He says something's gone wrong with this world. There are spontaneous mutations, animal attacks. Maybe you have something to say about that.
The Lilithon is expressing her wrath. For centuries, this world has resisted the brutality inflicted upon it by soulless machines and unmindful creatures. But what the machine man told you, that is something else. Something more frightening. The planet is fighting an evil that has taken root in its very cradle.
Urilet pauses. If you want, you can join me. None of the locals will dare to look askance to you in the Rouge Trader's presence.
So be it. I will go with you.
Urilet is silent for several seconds, her gaze fixed on something behind you. Slowly, drawing out her words, she replies.
I am ready, Elantark. Let us go forth.
Urilet is a Xenos, one of the Asurani. She is a ranger whose path of the outcast, and her skills in ranged combat are without equal. Urilet does not use human weapons and can wear either Eldari armor or, if she learns the required features, Drukhari armor. Urilet's abilities instantly ends her turn. However, at the start of the next turn, she will make an attack that always hits its target. Let's see. I like Abelard. So Jay and Cassia kind of have overlapping abilities, so we're going to replace Urilet with, or replace Jay with Urilet. The ivy covering this archway gives off a delicate, heady fragrance, although you do not see any flowers.
I won't tolerate weakness.
Indeed. I have not seen many places that flaunt such luxury. If you were to scrape all the gilding from every temple on footfall, it would still...
The stooped man, wearing a cloak of the Adeptus Administratum, is reviewing information on a data slate, while his quietly whirring mechanical arms fill a long scroll with writing. Upon noticing you, the man stretches his thin lips into a smile and deferentially bows. The light in the eyes of the servo skull hovering over his right shoulder gently pulsate. Your Lordship, what an honor it is to address you in person. Allow me to introduce myself. Attilius Quint, Prefectus of the Officio Agricultae. I will preserve the record of our conversation forever. What record of our conversation? Excuse me, I get some water real quick. Your Lordship, I painstakingly record every conversation with high-ranking personages, and afterwards I fill out all 7 accompanying forms personally. Attilius rolls up his completed scroll in a practiced gesture, stows it away, and pulls out a new one. Your words and judgment are in good hands. Attilius's mechanical fingers fly over the scroll as he fills in another line. And of course, what great fortune it is to see, for the very first time in all my years of service, an emissary of the Navis Nobilite here on Janus. I humbly welcome the esteemed Cassia Tissophia Everialia, Lady Navigator of House Orselio. Everything from her condescending gaze and confident bearing to her calm and commanding voice marks Cassia as the heiress of the great bloodline. Awestruck, Secretary writes down each letter of her name with peculiar fastidiousness. Laudable foresight. I thank you. Moments such as the appearance of a rogue trader must be preserved for prosperity. What do you think of Vistenza Viat? The governor is a superb leader. She possesses an excellent grasp on all matters and never uses an incorrect form for a given situation. I do not pry into her personal affairs, but if I may speak plainly, a lady who fills out paperwork with such finesse cannot be a bad person, in my view. What do you have to say of the governor's helper, Urilet? Attilius looks askance to Urilet and offers a strange smile. A highly, highly exceptional individual. After today's regretful events, I am beginning to hold her talent in particular esteem. Verily, even mutants who have seen the light of the God Emperor can faithfully serve his flock. Moreover, Urilet's particular abilities could be an interesting subject of study for the Magos biologists. the elongated head shape, those eyes. Judging by the skull that was given to me to send on to Footfall, such developmental anomalies on Janus are not a quirk of nature, but some kind of inheritable trait. Yurliet freezes completely, turning into a living statue. What did you say? Oh, madam, have my words upset you? I'm certain your kinsman would be delighted to learn that people wish to make pretty presse-papier out of his remains. And besides, I could be wrong about the nature of his origins. Why do you have to send a skull to someone on Footfall? It was part of a commission for a jeweler, your lordship. One of the ladies of the court sent this trinket along with precise instructions for the artisan who was to encrust it with precious stones. One moment. After rummaging in a nearby container, Attilius draws out a parcel, which he immediately unwraps. Here it is. I believe the finished piece was intended to be given as a gift to the governor, but under the current circumstances, I doubt I'll be able to send it to Footfall anytime soon. Yurliet stares at the skull in silence. You can see her jaw working under her delicate skin. After a few seconds, she abruptly turns away. Pascal's mechadendrites reach toward Artilius with interest, seeming to unnerve him a little. Adequately preserved. It is a pity that it is empty inside. It could have become a proper servo skull herald for the Rouge Trader. Unorthodox. Remove it from my sight. Oh yes, of course, of course. Attilius hurriedly returns the skull to the container. What are your duties here? By the grace of the God Emperor, I oversee the administrative apparatus on the planet and serve as secretary. I am also responsible for the logistics related to supplying the planet of the Von Valentius dynasty and the timely payment of tithes to the Imperium's official collectors. Speaking of the Von Valentius dynasty, when were the last shipments sent? Oh, your lordship, our supply shipments are all in order. All foodstuffs and other items are ready for export and are simply awaiting the arrival of the transport ships. However, given the current circumstances on the planet, Janus could not provide even one trench of more than what is already prepared. I am certain the situation will be rectified in the future. When did the collector ships last come to Janus? Oh, your lordship, I must confess that as yet I have not had the pleasure of filling out the sacred tithes protocol form, as the last Imperial ship to come here did so under my predecessor. Come to think of it, that would have been several decades ago. I do hope the logisticians responsible for such an unforgivable oversight lose their heads over this. Tell me about Janus. What's happening on the planet? Alas, your lordship, rebellions have caused us too many problems in recent times. The rebels are interfering with established processes, interrupting supplies, sabotaging the serfs' work. A few nobles have even been killed, and worst of all, some of the victims occupied important administrative posts. Until their replacements pass their checks, complete all their induction forms, and go through the official appointment procedures, important paperwork is going unsigned. It's a bureaucratic catastrophe. If things continue in this vein, I dare not even imagine what it could lead to. There are worlds that have been ravaged by war for generations. Generations, your lordship. Like that deranged planet by the nameless star, so close to your own peaceful system. The inhabitants were supposed to live under the patronage of Rouge Trader Winterscale. I shudder to think what he has created there. I want to know details. Where have the rebels struck, and how? Of course, of course. I would be delighted to furnish you with all the information I have. In the last few months, 15 organized attacks and 7 terrorist attacks have been perpetrated. Irrigation equipment has been sabotaged, and agrarian sectors 3 to 5, transport shuttles 2, 7, 4, 13, and also... I suppose this will not tell you much. Please. With a fusty gesture, he presses several buttons on his data slate screen, and the 3-dimensional map with coordinates of the attack appear on your cogitator. The data is superbly collected, and the map clearly displays the actions of the rebels. At first glance, there seems to be no logic to their campaign, but after analyzing the data and the features of the terrain, you notice a clear system indicating a geographical pattern to their attacks. Who was directing the rebels? Does anyone know? The rebels are well armed and well trained. What's more, the governor's advisors are inclined to think that the instigators of the rebellions are very familiar with the planet's terrain and climate. My ordnance are going through registration records day and night, looking for individuals who have completed military training, but we have so far been unable to identify the scoundrel. What are you doing to combat the rebels? Our security forces are tracking those who support the rebels, and our regular wardens are wiping out these saboteurs without the slightest mercy. But they keep on appearing. My scribes have been run off their feet, keeping records of all the public hearings and executions. But I am confident that the governor will find a solution soon. What do you know about the attack on the estate? A disgraceful incident, simply disgraceful. I cannot believe these scoundrels would dare to come so close, and to drag the nobility into this as well. If they penetrated the estate, that means that they had help from some worthless servant or another. Security is currently questioning the servitors, but the culprit has yet to be found. Yet. Attilius's Quince smiles unpleasantly. Alright. Let's go explore over here, and then we'll come over here, and then we'll come up into this, talk to this guy.
Victory awaits.
I sense something nearby.
Something up there.
Stop! There!
Some goods here in the water. Fellowship and Commerce. That sounds like a Cassia item. 63 Fellowship, 93 Commerce. Chains or ropes with shackles on the end can be seen in the water. Something white is also visible through the glimmer. A fragment of stone with marks made by sharp teeth. That sounds very torture-y.
Follow my lead.
As it should be.
The fountain is an expensive toy for the nobility. Pure water is currently bubbling from it, but additional pipes on it indicate the presence of separate siphons for sparkling wine and other beverages. That's quite the fountain there.
A new challenge for me.
I did it?
The chapel is built out of luxurious materials, but the holy place looks half abandoned. You cannot smell any burnt incense in the air. You see no seals of cleansing on the doors, and you hear no prayers, no human voices or vox recordings.
It's about time.
A decorative spire hastily turned into a watchtower is a sure sign of a turbulent situation on the agri-world. And this is where we were attacked, so we can just kind of go straight over to here.
I won't tolerate weakness.
Oh, we got a lore thing over here.
I read about this.
Sealed containers marked with the familiar insignia of the Munitorium and additional seals of a forged world unknown to you. The crates contain high-grade weapons, likely made to order, and more goods. A hot-shot las gun. That's better than what we've got. Not that we use the las weapon at all, but in case we need it, it helps to have better. The most effective representative of the local flora are assembled in this flower bed. Unfamiliar fruits are ripening on the carefully pruned plants. Watch where you're pointing those holes, or pointing those hoses. The last thing we need is a poisonous gas cloud in the air to cover the estate.
I'll lay claim to the stars.
A hulking man dressed in a uniform, marking him out as an officer of the gubernatorial wardens, is closely monitoring his subordinates as they surround the building. Sensing your approach, he whips around, his face going pale, and he offers a low bow. Your lordship, please do not stray too close to the building. One of the terrorists from today's attack has holed himself up in there. He could be dangerous. What's going on here? Ready to report, your lordship. We conducted a sweep of the area after the attack. All of the assassins were arrested or neutralized except for one. The officer scowls darkly. He sealed himself inside. He already injured 2 wardens who tried to reach him. But there's no need to worry. We'll poison him and clear out the last dregs of dirt from the estate. I have only one question, officer. Why have you not already done it? The Rouge Trader is here, and the longer you delay, the more you put his life needlessly at risk. The officer flinches slightly at Abelard's snarl. It is inexcusable, your lordship. The barrels of poison were only just delivered, but we're ready to begin now. You're going to poison the rebel? The officer nods. We're using insecticide from our stockpiles, your lordship. We don't have any military-grade poisons, but we don't need them. Not for this parasite. Who is he? The officer's brow furrows. To tell the truth, your lordship, I'm more concerned with clearing this area right now than his identity. We're not expecting to get any valuable intel from him, unless we find something on his corpse after we were done. What's so special about this building? It's one of the utility buildings. Fortunately, it was empty at the time of the attack. There are no potential hostages or innocent people inside. If you ask me, I think this was the first place the killer came to when he was beating a retreat. We managed to round up all the others, but this one holed himself up in there. This is not an empty utility building, but an inactive backup crypt for storing refrigerant and freezing equipment. This is obvious. Your ignorance is depressing, servant. Sorry. Just sorry, that's it. Just a sorry. I want to talk to the person inside. Are you sure? It's not exactly safe, your lordship. The officer's eyes involuntarily sweeps over you, sizing you up. I want to solve this problem without too much blood or fuss. The officer takes a breath. As you wish, your lordship. At the officer's signal, the other wardens take a deferential step back, clearing your path to the door. When you approach the solid-looking door, a high, boyish voice shouts out, "Piss off! You won't take me alive. Better to put a bullet in my brain than let the governor's dogs get their hand on me." Well, let's examine the door. The door looks solid and formidable, but you notice dark marks on the hinges, a sure sign that the material is degraded. The lock doesn't look new either. With a suitable tool, it could easily be opened. So, coercion is only 68%. Strength, we could break down the door. Tech use is 98%. Well, strength is 100%, so let's bust that door open. A few powerful blows and the door flies open, revealing the way inside. Inside is poorly lit, but you spot a person standing at the far corner. He is desperately gripping a discharged lasgun in his hands. At the sight of you, his eyes widen in recognition and fear. It can't be! The Rouge Trader! The young man, practically a boy, falls to his knees and stretches out his bloody hands towards you. His clothes are burned on the side and grimy with baked-in blood. Your lordship, have mercy! You are the sovereign of this planet. Only you have the power to save us. Youth is a time of recklessness. I heard that said more than once in the Schola Progentum, and during my novitiate. But youth is also a time of directness. Let us listen to this young man before we judge him. Say what you want. From Governor Viet, everybody here knows what she's doing to us. We've put up with it for a long time, hoping that somebody would intervene and help us, but nobody ever did. She's turned the whole world into a slaughterhouse. People are rounded up like rocks from the settlements, supposedly to go to the palace, and they're never seen again. Her servants pour something over the fields, and then people lose their minds. They start hearing voices and seeing evil spirits, and while we're dying, she sits behind her white walls, feasting on our bones. Earlet's face twists. Sacrifices, madness, pain, and death. Even in so primitive a society as this, such rites seem senseless, not worthy of such efforts. What is this? A random quirk of nature? Or something darker? I was taught that peasants have a tendency to exaggerate their suffering due to sloth and weakness in spirit. But this young man, vermilion thorns pierce every centimeter of his body, and gray shackles bind his hands, feet, and neck. There are no words in his lies, only terror and desperation without end. Are you telling me people are seeing evil spirits? Yes. Others are going feral and attacking their loved ones. And then there's, the boy lowers his voices, people say that in some settlements, well, they've stopped upholding the law altogether. Imperial law and the laws of basic human decency. People are turning into animals. Who was behind the rebels? He swallows nervously and looks at you with fear. Your lordship, I beg you, don't ask me that. I can't sell out my brethren. It's over for me, but the others, I won't betray them. "93, 100 persuasion. There will be no end to the war on this planet until I get a handle on the situation. But to do that, I need to meet with your leader." The boy hesitates a few seconds, and then his head drops limply. "As long as you keep your word." "I've never been in their camp. None of us have. Only the chief saw one person from their base. He came a few times bringing weapons and orders. He said he represented a greater force than we could imagine, and he said that the governor's dogs will pay for their reprisals in the settlements. But that's not where they're hidden. They keep their distance from ordinary folks. We have it all worked out so that if anyone gets caught, the others aren't caught with them. But I swiped the chief's Vox. I thought, after I killed the governor, I could use the message coordinates to find the base and hide out there." The boy retrieves a Vox from his pocket and holds it out to you with a shaking hand. "That's everything I know, your lord. Chip." "Get up and come with me. I give you my word as a rogue trader, you will live." The rebel looks at you in bewilderment, and then bows low before you. Then he speaks. His voice trembles. "Your lordship, thank you. Thank you for this kindness. I never thought I'd survive this." The officer of the warden casts a disdainful look over the rebel before turning his gaze to you. "Your lordship, I honor your bravery. Please allow me to get rid of this rat for you." "Escort this man safely to the perimeter of the estate. He is free to go." A dumbfounded expression appears on the officer's face. "With the deepest respect, your lordship." The officer thinks better of his next words and abruptly bows. "It will be done." He was going to argue and realized that's a bad mistake. "Thank you, your lordship. Without your patronage, I would already be dead." We all leveled up. Some goods. Only 93% chance, Pascal. Alright, good job. Disinfective device. 15 bonus to carousal. Alright, let's look at the new stuff we have. Damaged Vox, log of... Oh, that didn't tell us what that is. 15 to carouse. Let's see. We got an 8. We have an 8. Oh, we have an 85 carouse. Wow, we are a carousing dude. 80 for Abelard. 35, 40, 35, 25. I guess it is us. Now we have 100 carouse. Alright, and this is a good place to call it. Thank you guys for watching. I do appreciate it. As always, like, subscribe, and comment. That is very helpful to me. I have been Sir Joseph. You guys are amazing. Until next time, stay safe out there, and I'll talk to you later.